Imagine that you have a very nice family, a happy family, the family of your dreams. Then you see the born of this little girl. She's all like her mom, beautiful, full of innocence, and with a brilliant future. One day, she's nicely playing outside, you are taking care of her, and suddenly you cannot see her anymore. She just disappeared. You look for her, but you cannot find her. Next day, you find out the news of this little girl, abused and killed, lying on the top of a sink in a desolated house. What would be your feelings towards the murderer? This was a real story in Guatemala. Her name was Andrea Lemus, only 6 years old. She was killed and abused in 2013. The murderer was Eduardo Cintur, a man who, without knowing her, committed such an indignant crime. An example, histories like this are repeated all around the world. Histories like John Bennett was married in 1996. She was from Colorado. She was a model. She was also abused and killed by a professor of 41 years old who said that he was in love with her. We all are susceptible of this kind of crime. The parents of these girls could be us. That could be our children. So what happened to the murderer? The murderer of our history in Guatemala, Eduardo Cintur, he got 76 years of prison according to Prensa Libre. That means 67 years having 3 healthy meals, consuming the money of the government, while that money could be used for people that are starving in our country, or to feed our 50% of children under 5 years old that are with chronic malnutrition. So, we could use the money to improve education, to feed our 50% of malnourished children, or also to develop our country. As a journalist, I have been researching on this topic in order to build up news. So today, I want to show you why prisoners in Guatemala should have harder punishments, according to the reality of our country and based on 3 simple but powerful reasons, which are the economic factor, the education factor, and the social benefit factor. Let's start by understanding the first reason why prisoners in Guatemala should have harder punishment and they should be forced to work to pay their expenses. The first reason is the economical reason. The funds designated for prisons in Guatemala are very high. They are a very good portion of the national budget. The murderer of our example got 67 years of prison. Let's imagine that he's going to live those 67 years. According to Prensa Libre, Guatemala spends 43 quetzals, which is our currency, every day for 1 prisoner. And we have families that survive with $1 a day, families of 6. So, if this prisoner is going to live these 67 years, that would represent $140,000. The government is going to spend $100,000 just in this prisoner. According to the journalist Sara Valdez in 2010, there is 250 million of quetzals that represent $32 million that the government designates every year for prisons. I'm not happy of paying with my taxes 3 healthy meals for murderers or for lawbreakers. I don't know what you think, but I'm not happy with that. Well, I know that there is people in my country who are starving. That's why other punishments, such as forced work, would generate an income for the government so the prisoners could pay their own expenses and that money could go to other needs that the country has. After reviewing this economical issue in Guatemala, let's review our second reason, which is the social reason of improving education. Our second reason is education improvement. If prisoners are forced to work, they could generate an income and pay their own expenses. According to Global Education Fund, nearly 32% of the population in Guatemala is illiterate. It jumps up even high to the indigenous population to a 60%. According to USAID, average schooling in Guatemala is only 4 years, and 1 out of 10 children in Guatemala graduate of 6th grade. In Guatemala, 4.6% of the national budget is designated to education, while UNESCO suggests an ideal of 6%. So we are lacking a 1.4% to complete our ideal money for education. Imagine that prisoners, through hard work, pay their own expenses. So that means that we would have more money available to cover that 1.4% that we are needing for education in Guatemala. After reviewing the main need of Guatemala, which is education, let's take a look to our next reason, which is the social reason. Forcing prisoners to work is a way to teach them to gain money that then we can use to pay their own expenses. And we can teach them to gain money within the frames of law. And also a way to maintain them occupied and to reform their behavior. Prisoners can be taught to do works of social benefit, such as tailoring, construction, carpentry, and many others. So when they get out, they don't feel like in the need of just stealing or killing or doing illegal things. According to Psychology of Health Organization in 2014, if our minds are occupied, then our bodies, or we are not going to have space for bad thoughts or to plan bad things. Therefore, if we maintain prisoners occupied doing stuff like tailoring, construction, if we just employ them, we are generating an income, we are reformating behavior, and we are inserting new habits and skills that fit the society in the moment when they get free. Now that we consider the three main reasons why prisoners should be forced to work in order to pay their own expenses, let's review what we have learned. Guatemala is one of the poorest countries in Latin America, with a high rate of malnutrition and illiteracy. We are a country of contrast and fair laws, where there is money to feed murderers, but there is not money to feed our 50% of malnourished children under 5 years old. If the government makes prisoners work to pay their expenses, we would have the benefit of having more available for education, to improve alimentation in our country, to improve or to get adequate health services, and to invest in the development of our country. But we would also be reformating the prisoners so they can learn something productive to do when they get free. There is murders everywhere, and every country has their issues. I make this proposal for Guatemala so you can get inspired and push the government in spending your taxes in common benefits. The price of peace shouldn't be paid by the good people, but the price of peace should be paid by the lawbreakers. That's what I think. I don't know what you think. I feel like it's not our responsibility to maintain our peace if they are breaking the peace. I mean, they should pay for that. So get up, make your voice loud, and to change situations of injustice in your own country. Because if you don't do it, who's going to do it?